Hi, my name is Mel Meyer, and I'm the Director of Out of Darkness at Atlanta Dream Center. I lead our anti-trafficking division, overseeing our outreach teams, our rescue and hotline teams, as well as our safe home staff and operations. So I worked with at-risk youth and family programs, and specifically a juvenile justice program with young girls aged 12 to 18. All of them had been arrested for something and were court mandated to the program I was working with. And during that season is when I had 106 girls on my caseload, and it was just such an eye-opening experience. I had 2 girls come and self-report to me that they had been coerced into a local strip club in our area, and even though they didn't use the words human trafficking, that was kind of the beginning of the journey for me, of just understanding and reading more and researching and really learning what was going on in the US. Up to that point, I really only understood trafficking to be something that happened in Cambodia or Eastern Asia, etc. And so at that point, I moved to Georgia and started volunteering, getting to know what was going on. There still is a lot of collaboration here in Atlanta area. And so I was able to just start getting my feet wet and understanding what's really going on. How can I better understand the needs of survivors? And I came on my first outreach with the Dream Center 8 years ago, and that was kind of the rest is history. I loved the team here. I loved their model of care and how they were doing outreach. And so I've been here ever since. I started working in the safe home and then leading the safe home, and now I'm directing Out of Darkness and still learning. I feel like that is one of the most crucial kind of key components to helping move past stigmas for people in regards to how they view trafficking versus pretty much anything else other than the words human trafficking. So in the field of work now and in that scope of work now, we better understand that we call it commercial sexual exploitation. And so really that's a spectrum of anything of value being exchanged for any part of someone's sexuality. So hence we have this kind of spectrum of absolutely human trafficking in the sense of legality and things you see in maybe movies like Taken, which does still happen, absolutely still a part of exploitation. And you see strip clubs, pornography industry, we see street prostitution, online escorting. There's really just the whole breadth of anything that in regards to, again, value, even survival sex, which is a term that you kind of use thinking that someone who is maybe living on the streets for whatever reason, maybe circumstantially, has no other way of providing for themselves and their basic needs other than that kind of, industry is a weird word, but that kind of exchange that's been set up. So it's been a big part of our journey as an organization and individually, and something that we now speak into in our community too, to help people understand, when you think of societally, when you think of the difference between how people perceive human trafficking survivors or victims and women or men in prostitution and other forms of exploitation, usually that idea of choice is kind of that dividing line. So I've seen that, I can't even tell you how much that has grown over the years. I've seen that grown in the sense of positively, in other words, being continually removed, but it's still a conversation that we're having. So as we've talked about a little bit before, you know that when we started, our heart and soul started with outreach. And it was this idea of, I think 2 things stand out to me. One is being on the front lines, right there with people where they are. And then secondly, doing that relationally. And so, we're a faith-based organization. That is at the core of who we are, is knowing that we're going with the love of Jesus and knowing that we want to see people living restored and whole lives. And we know that part of that comes through understanding who we are and who we're created to be, and that how much God loves us, that people are seen and they're known and they're loved regardless of what's happened to them in their lives. And so that was really at the core of the foundation of Out of Darkness as well. And so really where we've come from there, that's a shorter answer, is continuing to grow outreaches, meeting a need that's expressed in the community. So growing from street outreach to now adding into that process, we have volunteers in 5 or 6 area jails, meeting with women, mentoring them, providing just a connection, a relational connection, right? Options, again, helping improve victim access. So as people who are in these various forms of exploitation, they may not always even identify themselves as victims, understandably, but our teams are able to be trained and be able to present other options for people, right? So we have street outreach, we have jail outreach teams, we have volunteers going into more than a dozen area strip clubs. Again, just building relationships, offering options and relationship. And so that's kind of the front end of the holistic, I would say, continuum of care. And then from there we have a 24/7 hotline that is really providing services and intake for adult women and men, but primarily women. We have rescue teams that we've established that are, again, volunteer driven, which is amazing, still blows my mind. I'm so grateful for our team. But we have men and women who partner up, again, training, meet in a safe location, and then the next step on that continuum is to bring that individual into one of our safe homes. And so really that kind of, again, just focusing in on being in the front lines, we have amazing partners that are in that long-term space, providing long-term residential care, providing drop-in services, providing transitional services and job placements, things like that. And our niche is to be right there in the beginning, providing that crisis intervention and care and options and empowerment for women to get out of the life. So yeah, that's what we do. I think two of the areas when people say, like, what do we need to be aware of? Like how can I not even just be more informed, but be truly more like present and aware of what's going on around me? I feel like one of the big areas, and you'll hear this word a lot more, in this community maybe, but this idea of prevention, of recognizing that if you have kids, there are risks involved in like online exploitation, online recruitment, social media, etc. There's a lot that truly can be prevented, a lot of vulnerability that can be prevented with early prevention, with early intervention, let's say. So for people to be aware of, if you have children or if you're already working in a school system or working in maybe even a church ministry, or anything that involves children really young aged up through high school, there's just a lot that you can be more aware of in regards to like what social media risks are there, what can you be aware of to help children be safe for themselves too? How can you help be a safe person for not just children but anyone? You hear some of the statistics around just average people that you're walking around with in life that like 1 in 4 most likely has been a victim of abuse of some sort. That similar idea of being able to be a safe person for when you're seeing people maybe identify as needing help. That was kind of a conglomeration of ideas. But secondly, I know that if you happen to truly run across someone that you feel like may be in danger, or as you learn more about the world of exploitation, you think, that person is with an older individual but doesn't feel safe. They seem like they're afraid. They don't have, they don't have possession of their own documents. Maybe they don't have their ID on them. That person has their ID. Just various number. I won't get into all the indicators now, but I think just educating yourself on indicators and then knowing what are the safe next steps to take. Not feeling like you have to be a vigilante for that individual, but knowing, okay, should I call 911? Can I just step in relationally and just say, maybe in the bathroom or something, like, can I help? Do you need help? Those kinds of things. So, and of course, our journeys involved this idea too of education, right? Like get involved with any number of amazing organizations in the area. I'm grateful we have a lot of opportunities to volunteer, but you think of what it takes to make this happen. And I know that some people, their calling or their way of making a difference is going to be partnering with an organization. Like, how can they help sponsor women in this journey, help make it possible for them financially to have care, to get connected to long-term services, or maybe it's that you're a person in a professional arena that can help provide their services or connect, whether it's, IT or graphics or, who knows. That I can think of a million things, but there's a lot of ways to get involved, and I love that there are many opportunities. So yeah. We've never had something like this before. And when Robert first approached us about this opportunity, it's very easy for us in our line of work to feel a little bit too wary and too cautious. We have this idea of safety and this idea of confidentiality, and is this gonna work for someone from maybe an IT background or someone who's an app or a software developer to can we meld them together? Can we make this work? Can we partner together and see something that was a challenge or an obstacle be overcome by this partnership? And I believe with all my heart that's what we're going to be able to accomplish with this partnership. So Robert approached us and said, hey, I think I have a good idea for how to use what we're developing with Social Shepherd in regards to the sense of like community response teams and community awareness for safety purposes, for people who are in unsafe situations or might be alone and needing someone to intervene in a safety situation. So as we started talking more and more about how this could be used within Out of Darkness, this context, we started to, develop some of these ideas, which really were Robert's, and we kind of started to flesh them out of how we could utilize this type of a concept within our hotline and rescue teams. And so I'm really excited. As it's still in development, but I can't tell you what this is going to mean for us as a team, not only to provide an extra layer of safety for both our volunteers and the women that we're providing services to, but it's also going to be allowing us to gather more information for a number of reasons. One, to be able to better track information for our team and where certain problem areas are, how to keep in touch with our rescue teams better and be able to track where they went and locations and things like that in a confidential manner. But we'll also be able to potentially partner even better with law enforcement when something comes up situationally where there may be other individuals that are in need of attention, in need of care, in need of intervention. So that is a very broad stroke glimpse of what's coming, but this is a new step for us as Out of Darkness, and I'm really excited that the ideas and the direction and the vision for Robert and his team at Social Shepherd, it's going to be really an amazing new venture to allow us to be safer, honestly, and allow us to provide new professionalism, new tracking, new safety measures even for volunteers into some of the services we already provide and already have safety measures in place. So really excited. And I mean, when I think of the idea of innovation and what it means for this field, we're not going to be able to do what we're doing well without partnering with others. And there are so many other fields that have knowledge that we never will. And so to be able to then provide this opportunity for people like Robert and his board and his crew to say, hey, you can make a difference in this area. Let's figure out how to make this work within confidentiality, within safety measures, and truly make a difference. I'm just really excited. So.